Hey guys, this week for Weapons Wednesday, I went on a personal mission to find my new favorite knife. So we're gonna really abuse some weapons today. But before we begin, if you just like this video and subscribe to our channel, that would be awesome. So last week, I showed you guys some of our popular weapons, and then I asked you to go to the community tab and vote for which one you like best. And you guys went to the community tab and chose the Dark Defense Karambit. Excellent choice, guys. There are so many things I absolutely love about this karambit, so if you didn't watch last week's video, definitely go back and check it out. But before we begin today, I just want to go through a couple of the comments that stood out to me on last week's video. So the very first comment that really stood out to me was from Styles Johnson 1745. I've read Styles' comments before, and he is an awesome guy. So Styles says, "Hey Kyle, which Bali song should I go with? Should I go with the Behemoth Black butterfly knife or the Trench Knife Bali song?" Well, that is an excellent question, Styles. So first off, let's just look at the Behemoth Black butterfly knife that I showed off last week. So this is a great butterfly knife. I like the spring latch. I like how simple it is. The problem with it for me is that it's just a little bit longer than some of our standard butterfly knives, so it just takes a little bit of getting used to, but it's actually pretty easy if you just play with it a little bit. Now, if we take a look at the Trench Knife Bali song, this one's very different. I mean, first off, we have a standard latch on it, so you gotta kind of pull that open. And then the thing that really differentiates it is the hand guard. So the nice thing about that is we can kind of close that latch and we've got just a standard trench knife, so we can use this for striking, we can use it for stabbing. Now the problem with it is that it takes a little bit of getting used to if you're going to use it for Bali song type stuff. So if I'm actually going to flip this guy, I've got to really be aware of where that handle is. And it just takes a little bit of time to get used to the size of these handles spinning around in your fingers. So if you were to ask me which butterfly knife I would choose, I would go with something that's very similar to what I grew up with. And my favorite ones that we carry are referred to as the professional vented Bali songs. And we have them in silver, black, gold, titanium finish, a number of different colors on the website. And what's so great about them is they have this venting in the handle here that make them so easy to hold onto. And then they've got a standard latch, which makes it so easy to flip it open, flip it back, pop it open, pop it back, and then go right into your different butterfly knife techniques. So Styles, if you were to ask me what type of butterfly knife I would choose, this is the type of butterfly knife I like best. So excellent comment. Now our next comment is from the Deaderer 8791. Now I know we've heard from the Deaderer before, but this guy leaves excellent comments, so I'm very happy to respond to his. Now, his comment is referring to the solid aluminum corded speed chucks I showed off last week. So in last week's video, I smashed these speed chucks through some cinder blocks, and they left some scratches all up and down the sides of the nunchucks. Now, the Deaderer commented on that saying, "Shoot, I'd leave the scratches on my nunchucks. It shows I actually use them and they're not just wall hangers." I love that comment because I believe if you're ever going to buy any weapon, you need to actually learn how to use them. And in doing so, you're going to get some scratches. So excellent comment. Now at the end of this video, make sure you guys go to the community tab and vote for which weapon you like best this week. And as always, there's links in the description of the video so you can find out more information on each of these products. But without further ado, let's go on to our very first item. All right, and our first weapon is the Black Ops Tactical Knife. Awesome. So I specifically chose this knife as my first knife to show off because it was designed by a SWAT team officer in Ohio to be specifically used for tactical purposes. So I think this is going to be an excellent knife to show off. So first off, we can see that it's got a really nice Kydex sheath that's been form-fitted to the blade. And then we've got this style of pocket clip back here that just opens up with the push of a button. You close it, you can lock it, and then you can also adjust it to be for a left-handed person or a right-handed person. So that's a nice little detail in itself. The other thing I really like about this is it has this little thumb indent here that you just kind of push on to pull the blade out. So that's a really slick way to get your knife out quickly. So I really like that aspect of it. But let's go ahead and check out the blade on this thing. So when we look at this blade, isn't that the most unique and brutal looking design? I absolutely love that. We can tell that this is kind of a modified recurve style blade with a very sharp tip to it. And then if we look at the blade itself, we can tell that this is made from a D2 steel. And I love D2 steel because D2 steel is a tool steel that's very wear resistant and and durable. And this specific D2 steel has a stone wash finish to it, which is very nice because if you're a knife person like me and you're going to be using this in the wild, you're going to get some scratches on the blade, and the stone wash finish just helps to disguise those little scratches. So that's pretty awesome. Now, if we look at the scales on this knife, we can tell that we do have G10 scales on here, and they do have an ergonomic grip to it, so it is extremely comfortable in my hand. I also have this thumb rise right here to get good grip on the knife. And then I also have this jimping up here on the spine of the blade that allows me to use it for more utility purposes. So that's pretty nice in itself. We can also see that it does have a lanyard hole down here on the bottom of the handle, and the blade is actually a 1/4 inch thick and full tang all the way through the scale. So this thing is going to hold up very, very nicely. Now we're going to have to really test this thing out though. So first off, the sharpness of the blade. The blade is extremely sharp and the tip is sharp, and I have a little bit of fabric down here, so let's go ahead and just try slicing with it a little bit. Okay, so as you can see, that just slit through all of that fabric, so this is definitely a very, very sharp knife. Now, the second thing I want to test on this is the batoning test, which is very, very popular on YouTube as well. And the way we're going to do that is I'm just going to walk over here. Be careful, Mel, I don't want to stab you. And I'm going to grab this little pellet over here and drag it in front of our little demo station. And I've got this Eskrima stick here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this knife up here on the pellet. And then I'm going to actually baton it with the Eskrima stick and just see if we can kind of slice through this piece of wood a little bit. So I'm going to grab a pair of safety glasses. Mel, could you go ahead and put these on? Okay, awesome. I'll put on my Clark Kent ones. There we go. All right, we ready? Yep. All right, let's try batoning this. And the purpose of this is to see, A, if the blade's going to break on us, and then B, we also want to see if these scales are going to get loose on here. So let's just go ahead and test that out. Look at that, just banged right through that pellet. I mean, look at that. That is beautiful. No damage to this at all. Those scales are on very tight, so that is going to hold up very, very nicely for you. So far, I'm loving this blade. The other thing I really wanted to test out, though, is the manufacturer told us that when the SWAT team member designed this blade, he wanted it to be used for anything from combat to prying a door open on a building if he ever had to get into a door. So I wanted to try prying this blade just a little bit. It is made from D2 steel that's been hardened very well, so I think it's going to hold up really nicely, but let's try prying on it really quick. So I'm going to first start by kind of stabbing in and prying a little bit. Okay, because I want to test the tip on this, and that's not breaking it. Oh yeah. I mean, I am really stabbing that, and look how that's just prying that wood off there. So that tip is still in great shape, no problem at all. Let's try with this side though in here. I mean, this will give me a good test because I'm going to use the thinnest part of the recurve blade right there and just see if that breaks. I mean, it's holding up pretty darn well. Yeah, no bend to it. That steel's holding up great. Tip still looks sharp as heck. I mean, that is awesome. And the thing I really liked about that is how comfortable that was on my hand. Now, this specific type of knife you probably wouldn't hold in a reverse grip, but you could. So yeah, you get good strikes with that as well. Let's try slashing with this a little bit just to see how well it does against this, which we've got our new Wing Chun dummy coming, but we'll go ahead and use this one for now. I'm just nervous I'm gonna get splinters on this thing. Okay, gotcha. That did awesome. That did really, really well. So I'm gonna go ahead and pass this over to Amanda though, because I wanna see how her hands fit this knife. So there you go, Amanda.
All right, I mean, this one, it fits my hand size too, so it's pretty comfortable for me as well. So even though I have smaller hands, it's still really comfortable to hold for me.
Nice.
Yeah.
I moved this completely out of your way, so.
The blade's really sharp, the tip is super sharp. I also do like that a lot about it. I'll try hitting it. Let's see how that goes. Yeah, I mean, that's really nice. You can't even see like any like scratches or dings in it. That's also why I really like stonewash finishes on it too. You can't see hardly any of that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I am really liking this knife. This is definitely one I would recommend. Now the overall length of this is approximately 10 1/4 inches. The blade length is approximately 6 inches and the total weight is approximately 9.3 ounces. So that is a really nice weight for this knife. Now one thing I do want to mention is that this knife is only available on combative.com. It's not available on KarateMart. KarateMart.com. But that's about all I have to say about that, so I'm going to go ahead and put this one away. Let's move on to our next weapon. All right, and our next weapon is the Combat Panga Machete. All right. I know what you're thinking. Hey, Kyle, why did you grab that as your second weapon? Well, I will tell you why. So this specific blade is made from a stainless steel. So I want to see a comparison between a stainless steel blade and that D2 steel we had on that last knife. But first off, I know you guys want to know what a Panga machete is. Now, a Panga is a type of machete that's common to Africa and the Caribbean, and it's known for having a wide curved blade to it. So it's going to be excellent for things like slashing and utility purposes. But let's take a look at this specific Panga machete. So first off, we can see that it's got a really nice nylon sheath to it with a belt loop, so we could hang it from the side of our body if we want. But you guys want to see the blade itself, so let's go ahead and open that up and check out the blade on this thing. All right, so first off, we can see that it's got that fat belly there that kind of gives it that Panga look to it. The thing I noticed right away is that it's got this really dull sawback on top. It doesn't look like a normal sawback because I don't think you could actually use it for sawing. Well, I guess you kind of can. I guess it's sawed a little bit, but I think that's more for aesthetic purposes because that's not really prominent teeth on that thing. And we can see that it is full tang. The blade goes all the way through the handle down to the pommel down there, and that is a very thick pommel. You can tell that this does have a nice rubberized grip to it. There's some jimping here for my thumb. And then the other thing I really like is it has this handguard here that has a really nice little placement for my thumb. So if I was to use this for more utility purposes, I can get good control with my blade with that. So I really like that aspect of it. So the blade itself is made from a stainless steel. Now the manufacturer did not tell us what type of stainless steel it is, but based on the sheen of this blade, it looks like a 3CR13 stainless steel to me. So I'm very curious to see how well that's going to hold up for us. So first off, let's just check the sharpness of this blade. Now this specific type of machete is not made for stabbing or cutting or anything like that. It's more of a chopping blade, but I still want to see just how sharp this is. So I'm going to go ahead and put up this fabric again. And that's where we cut last time. Let's just try like this. Okay, see that just, oh, I guess it did cut through a few layers. But that was awkward though, right guys? I mean, I was kind of like this. That's weird. That's not really a great test for this thing. The second thing I want to test is the batoning test. Just like the last knife, I want to see if this thing's going to hold up to some batoning. Okay, so we'll just set that on there, and here we go. Whoa! Okay, I mean, it's definitely cutting through just fine. Blade looks good. It didn't hurt the blade at all. It's holding up really well. Now, I was debating what other types of tests I'd want to do with this. Like, if we were to do the prying test like we did with the last knife, I would be willing to guarantee this thing is going to break because that's not what this is made for. This is more of a slashing or a chopping type weapon. So what I would like to do instead is actually try chopping into this concrete block because I want to see how bad this blade is going to ding up, but I also want to see if the blade's going to snap when doing that. So I think this is going to be an excellent test for it. Now Mel, stay way back. I've got my safety glasses on. Let's see what happens here. I've never tested this before, so everyone be really careful. All right, here we go. Wow. Okay. I'm gonna hit this side too. All right, here we go. Wow. Okay. That was fun. All right, so let's look at the blade here. You can see that it took some little tiny divots out of there, which, considering what that just did to the cinder block, I'm actually pretty impressed that it's not worse than that. That held up a lot better than I thought it would. But the overall length of this is approximately 16 inches. The blade length is approximately 10.5 inches, and the total weight is about 15.4 ounces. So that is a really nice weight for this machete. I mean, yeah, I can do some pretty good damage with this. Holy cow. One more. I'm going to see if I can lift this thing after doing that. Pretty much. But that's about all we have to say about this, right? Yep. All right, so let's go ahead and put this away and move on to our next weapon. All right, and our next weapon is the Urban Tactical Pocket Knife. Awesome, awesome. So this is actually the whole reason we're making this video today. About 2 months ago, I went out fishing up in northern Arizona, and some of you guys might have seen that on our YouTube shorts. And when I got out there, I started preparing my fishing line, and then I all of a sudden realized I didn't even have a knife on me. I mean, how ridiculous is that? So I had to borrow my friend's knife in order to do our fishing expedition. But since then, I've been on this whole mission to find the very best everyday carry knife I could possibly find for myself, and I think I found the perfect one. So the first thing I was looking for is the very best pivot system I could find on a knife. So I really love ball bearings, and I wanted to have a knife that opened up very quickly and easily for me. So if we look at this knife, we can see that there is a thumb stud here if we want to use that, or we've got a flipper there to open up the blade. So let's just test out that flipper really quick. Boom! Did you see how smoothly that blade opened? And that thing is tight. Now the second thing I wanted to look for was the right type of steel for the knife I was going to own. I know there's a million types of steel out there, but one thing you should know about me is that I am a little bit frugal. So I wanted to find a knife that was actually in a price range that I would be okay with if I actually dropped and lost my knife. Now I love this knife because it does use a D2 steel, which is an excellent steel, but still keeps a fairly low price point. And as we know, D2 steel has very good wear resistance and is also very durable. Now the thing that was absolutely the most important to me when deciding on a pocket knife was the locking mechanism. So there's all sorts of different locking mechanisms out there, but I specifically chose this one because it uses the DLM lock, which is known as the dynamic locking mechanism. Now that's actually very similar to an axis lock or a bar lock, but the difference is if you're looking at an axis lock or a bar lock, you pull this little bar back to release the blade. On this guy, you pull it to the side. So what that does is it allows me to close the blade with one hand, and then what's also different between this and an axis or bar lock is the blade is actually connected really nicely into the handle of the knife, whereas if you have an axis or bar lock, you can flip that open. So this is not going to come out on you easily at all. You actually have to hit this flipper up here to open it up. So that is a very smooth opening, and I think we're going to see that that locking mechanism holds up very nicely to some of my tests. And if you look at the shape of the blade, you can tell that it is a clip point blade that actually has a swedge up top on there, and the blade itself is very sharp. The tip is extremely sharp, and then we can tell that the scales on this knife are made from a very comfortable G10. It does have an ergonomic grip to it. And then if we hold it, we actually have this jimping up here so we can use it for more utility purposes as well. So I love the feel of this knife in my hand. I think it's wonderful. We can also see that there's a lanyard hole on here in case we wanted to add some paracord to it or hook it onto our keychain. There is a steel pocket clip on here that's very durable, and it has the ability to hook to the left side or the right side of the knife, so we could use it for a left-hander or a right-hander. So that's a nice feature in itself. But I want to test this thing out a little bit. So the first thing I want to test is just how sharp it is. So let's go ahead and test that out on the fabric first. Let's find a spot that we haven't struck into yet. So, okay, I'm just going to slice this. Oh man, no problem at all. That just worked beautifully. Let's slice a few more spots on here. Oh yeah, that's just taking that off, no problem. Beautiful, beautiful, love that. The next thing I want to test is the batoning test. So let's go ahead and test that really quick. All right, I'm just going to drag this over here, and this will be interesting. I'm just going to set that on here. Oh wow, did you see that? Just it's pretty awesome. All right, let's try that again over here. Here we go. Oh yeah, that's awesome. So that's batoning really, really nicely. The next thing I want to test is the locking mechanism on this thing. So let's go ahead and test that out on the Wing Chun dummy really quick. I'll drag this fabric off there. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of pull against this to see if the lock's going to break on me. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this. Putting some heavy force on it. Okay, that's... I'm going to pull against it a little bit. Oh yeah, that just dug into the wood, did not break. That held up just beautifully. So, oh yeah, I'm totally loving this knife. I think it's awesome. Let's try striking with it just a little bit. Holding up great. Yeah, I'm liking this. Trying a reverse grip really quick. Look at that. Beautiful. All right, so this fits my hands just perfectly. Let's go ahead and pass this over to Amanda to see what she thinks.
All right. So I do like it a lot. It does fit my hand size as well. The only thing is, personally, I don't like pocket clips, so I would probably just take this off and not put it back on there, honestly.
Awesome, awesome. Here,
Can
let's drag this back over for you. There you go.
I'm still scared of that thing.
I know.
And I mean, It's still doing pretty good.
We
yeah.
should have the new Wing Chun dummy about next week, shouldn't we?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
It actually should be coming in tomorrow.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, that held up really well, and you can't, there's really no dings or like scratches or anything on it either. So overall, I think that's a really good knife. Yeah, I like that a lot.
All right, so the blade length is approximately 3¼ inches. The total length is approximately 7¾ inches, and the total weight is approximately 5 ounces. So this thing is the perfect weight to be sitting in my pocket. But at the end of this video, if you guys could please go to the community tab and vote for which weapon you like best this week. If you have any questions, definitely leave them in the comments below. You never know, we may end up using your comment in a future video. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to our channel, and check out KarateMart.com because we've got all sorts of awesome weapons on there right now. But until next week, we'll see you Weapons Wednesday.